My mother and father were in it. My mother's mother and aunt were, and brothers were in it. Somehow or other on my grandfather's side, he was a Church of England curate in northern England at the time, and his son, he was a solicitor. He used to walk down Collins Street quoting Shakespeare, just like Rumpole to the Old Bailey, actually. My father was not in show, his side of the business were not in show business at all. When he left school at 14, he got 2 and 6pence a week to be apprentice to a beds goods boot factory in Melbourne. A 48-hour week, and he hated it. So as his parents were so poor at the time, the only thing he could learn, he'd seen jugglers standing outside entertaining the queues out going into the theatres in Melbourne, so he decided that he'd learn to juggle. So the only thing he could find to juggle with was his mother's potatoes. The thing about my grandmother and her sister was they did a double act, a military type act where they marched and danced around with rifles, and then they played cornets. They played cornet solos. And in the 19th century, ladies did not play brass instruments. That was not considered ladylike. One Christmas, I was 13 years old, and I put a Punch and Judy frame under my arm and took the Punch and Judy dolls out in a case and went out on the tram one Saturday afternoon in December and earned 3 guineas. That was my first paid job that I remember. I was only 4 when my parents were with a touring show, and my mother made me a little top hat and tail suit, and I'd come out on the stage and sing Burlington Bertie from Bow. I'm Burlington Bertie, I rise at 10:30 and saunter along like a toff. And so I can't remember the rest of the words now, but
I'm Burlington Bertie, I rise at 10:30 and saunter along like a toff. I walk down the Strand with my gloves on my hand, and I walk down again with them all. I'm all airs and graces, correct easy paces. So long without food, I forgot where my face is. I'm burnt. Burnt, I have on the shirt, but my people are well off, you know. Well, nearly everyone knows me, from Smith to Lord Rosebery. I'm Burlington Bertie from Bow. I'm Burlington Bertie. I rise at 10:30, then Buckingham Palace I view. I stand in the yard while they're changing the guard. The king shouts across toodaloo. The Prince of Wales' brother, along with some other, slaps me on the back and says, come and see mother. I'm burnt. Burnt, royalty's hurt. When they ask me to dine, I say no. I've just had a banana with Lady Diana. I'm Burlington Bertie from Bow.
But of course, as soon as television came in, Punch and Judy was a third-rate television show. Suddenly, Channel 9 wanted a clown for the Tarak show, and my father was away, so I was cheeky enough to say, oh well, can I come and do it for you?
10 to the first 64, take 1.
Uncle Norman is on his way. We're going to have some fun today. So put away your worries, you'll soon be feeling fine. Watching the Tarak show each night on Channel
But first of all, only one night a week. But then it got to, eventually up, I was doing 3 nights a week at one stage then. But the trouble with television, if you're sincere about it, it squeezes you dry in no time flat. I used to wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning and say, now what can I do tomorrow night on the television? The conductor of the Collingwood band was there, so he said, "Oh, come." He said, "Oh, we can't use you with your clarinet or a saxophone. Come along." And so they gave me a brass instrument and put me in the band. He had to admit I was the worst player that they had, but never mind. At least I could say to people, I play for Collingwood, even if it was the brass band. Well, that's me working at that's my first smoke night I ever worked at. Before television, you see, men could go to these smoke nights and get blind, blithering drunk. But then Women's Lib came in with television. So they weren't allowed to do that anymore. And I could stand up and tell double-meaning jokes for about an hour and a half without drawing breath, one after the other. At one stage I taught my cat to do some tricks, actually, and we had a circus theme in there, so I said, oh good, the big cat under the big top. So I taught the cat to jump up onto a chair and put another chair there, and provided you showed him a piece of meat, he jumped from one chair to the other chair, and then you could hold the hoop there and he jumped through the hoop to get to the other chair. Now, you had to be very quick, because out came the paw to get the piece of meat, and if you didn't get that piece of meat back fast, he took your hand with it too. Yeah, but we had a run through before the show, and suddenly the cameras roll up and the cat shoots through. And I never saw the cat for the next 6 months. I do 3 children's birthday parties on a Saturday afternoon and 3 on Sunday afternoon. And play for a dance on Saturday night. So we got a bit of strife with that one. Oh, another one I got into trouble with too.